Hi, my name is Sonia Miller and I work for the Natural Resource Conservation Service. I'm here today to talk to you about soil health and how it's very important for corn and all plants growth. Farming takes a lot of work. Every spring, farmers start out by bringing out these big old tractors like this, and they go out into the fields and they start disking, start breaking up that soil. Then they come back through and they're going to use a planter, which is like that. This goes through and puts in all the seeds into the ground, just in the most precise spot, exactly where it's needed to grow. Then after that, they come back through and they irrigate the ground for the next 3 months. After that time, that's when they come back in for the corn and they harvest. After the harvest, to put more nutrition back into the ground, the farmers will spread manure, or they'll also go through and add fertilizers. Just like if you don't have a good balanced meal, you need to take extra vitamins. Same thing happens with the soil. If it doesn't have good organic material in there, then it needs to go through and have a vitamin, and we call it a fertilizer. San Joaquin County has many different soils. These soils are broken down into particle size, known as sand, silt, and clay. If you go down to clay, which is the smallest, all these tiny little parcels get together, and they're so tight that the water can't go through. On the contrast, if you go to the largest, which is a sand like this, it goes through and the water runs just right through it. We have some soil right here that has some really good soil organic material, and it has more of a loam soil, which means it has more mix between that sand, the silt, and the clay. It's not just one thing. And when you go through and you put water into this, it goes through and these plants and the soil act like a sponge. It goes through and sucks in the water, keeps those nutrients right there just for the roots. Soil organic matter is the main building block for soil health. Your family cares for you by going through and giving you a good balanced meal. And just like our farmers, they go through and they look at their soil, they look at their land, and they want to go through and give it also the best possible chance. So they go through and they feed their soil. When we look at a balanced meal for us, we're looking at lots of fruits, vegetables, some meat, some bread, some cheese, those kind of things. And when we look for cattle, they're going to go through and they're going to want to have a balanced meal also. So that's where we go through and we use some almond hulls and hay and some different alfalfa, and then if you see right in here, there's some corn. Corn is no different. It needs to go through and have a balanced meal also. If we leave this plate in the refrigerator too long, it starts to go bad, as we know it, or decomposing. Now for plants, corn and grass and everything else, they also need to have those fruits and vegetables, plants that have been decomposing, and also those animal proteins. And little worms and such like that that are decomposers that go through and change the soil. They go through and they eat the plants, and they go through and digest them, and everything that's excreted goes through and helps to the plant to grow, because it makes it a smaller, easier form for the plant to get that nutrition. The way they go through and do that is the moisture goes into the soil, and the roots go through and suck out all of this great nutrition, all this good food out of there. If you notice on this, it's very dark soil, that there's lots of root growth. This is a very good specimen of good, healthy soil. This soil right here has been pasture, which cattle have gone through and been in for a long time. Corn and all plants need to have healthy soil to grow.
Hi, my name is Sherry Mello. I work for USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service, and today we are going to talk about corn and corn products. Do you know how many years ago corn was first farmed and by who? Almost 7,000 years ago by the Mexican farmers. The farmers plant their corn in the springtime with a tractor and a seeder, and then it takes about 3 months to grow, and that's about the same time that you are out of school for summer break. It takes 4 things to grow corn. It takes sunshine, water, air, and nutrients. And how do you get your nutrients? You use your teeth, and the food that you eat, you get your nutrients that way. The corn stalk gets its nutrients from its roots. The roots are like your teeth, and they eat the nutrients from the soil, and that's how it grows so tall. Corn can grow to 12 feet, taller than any basketball player. Sweet corn is the type of corn that we eat, And the grain corn and the silage corn is what the animals eat. When you drive alongside of a road, the shorter corn is your sweet corn. The tall 10 to 12 foot corn is your grain and your silage corn. Of a typical grocery store that has 10,000 items, how many items do you think has corn in it? About 2,500. Today we have some products here that we are going to talk about. So we're going to start with some easy ones, like canned corn and popcorn and corn tortillas. Did you know that there is corn syrup in your gummies or in your fruit snacks? And then of course we have corn chips. We have your M&Ms. They also have corn syrup. Do you know that your cereal has cornstarch in it? And that's what makes it hold together in the shape that are formed. And look here, we even have soda. Soda has corn syrup in it, which makes it sweet. And same with your cookies. Any type of dog food, cat food will use cornstarch to hold its shape. Now we're going to get into something a little bit more difficult. I have a box of envelopes here. And did you know that the glue on the envelope has corn in it? And what about your crayons? Your crayons have cornstarch in it, and that's what gives it its shape. And does anybody know what this is? This is a spark plug. And this spark plug in the production of porcelain uses cornstarch. So there is corn product in this spark plug. With the 2,500 products that you find in the grocery store, you can also make ethanol, which is a biodiesel, and it is also made out of corn. That is a clean burning fuel. During harvest, the combine takes all of the kernels off the cob and it gets trucked to a mill. And they take all the kernels and they boil it and they run it through a roller to break down the kernels, because you can't eat grain corn like you can sweet corn. So they take all the kernels, they run it through the roller, and it becomes rolled corn. And that way, all of the farm animals are able to eat the rolled corn. When we harvest corn and the stalk is still green, we chop that for silage. When the corn stalk is brown, we harvest it for grain corn. Silage is the whole plant chopped up into little tiny pieces. And if you've ever driven by a dairy and seen those big white tarps covered with tires, this is what's underneath it. They chop it all up and they put the tarp on it, and it starts to ferment, and it gets a really sweet smell, and cows love it. It is like candy for cows. Do you know what county grows the most corn? San Joaquin County does. We grow more corn in this county than most states.
So San Joaquin County is very fortunate because it's right in the middle of California. That's where some of the best soil is. Because we go through and have this good, healthy soil like this, and we have farmers who are going through and trying to promote good, healthy soil, this is why we see so many products in the area and why we have the most delicious, best food and the sweetest corn.